So I was running the numbers on your OnlyFans, and it seems like the subscription numbers this month are a little lower than previous months. And I think you need to dip into some of the, lesser tapped markets.
What is your suggestion?
Oh my god, what are you guys doing? It is way too early for you guys to be talking this loud.
It's 7:30 at night.
Excuse me, we're having a business meeting. Not all of us can sit around all day like a jobless loser.
I have a job.
Yeah, your job is to be quiet while we discuss my blossoming career.
Hey, Jenny, you look well rested. What? I'm trying to be nice.
Can we please get back to what matters here?
Oh, right. So I was thinking you should start selling feet pictures. I follow a lot of foot fetish accounts for research, of course, and I think if you hit this niche market, your subscriber count will skyrocket.
Hey, Horace.
Welcome to hell.
It sounds a little weird.
Oh no, some people find feet very erotic, arousing even.
Hello?
They're more attractive when they're smashing food.
You say
People throw
Kimberly?
money at you, even send you.
What the hell is wrong with you? Who do you think you are? Do you think it's funny to make fun of a grieving old woman? I don't want to hear it. Kimberly died 15 years ago. How dare you? Never call here again, you monster. What?
What the hell was that just now?
It's my job. Well, company.
I heard you say words, but I feel like you didn't answer my question.
Okay. For a fee, I will give you a number that you give to creeps when they hit on you at the bar or the club or just walking down the street minding your own business. And when they call looking for the person they were bothering, they get me and a scenario that pretty much guarantees that they will never call back or approach the person if they see him in public again.
Ooh, and it's effective?
100% so far.
You tell them the person they're trying to reach was a ghost? Like that old ghost story?
Oh, I love that story. Do you have any others?
Well, let's see. Oh, honey, Zachary's part of a cult, and not even those fun sex ones like you read about in the papers. If Zachary gave you this number, he's trying to recruit you, not date you. Wait, Trini gave you this number? I'm surprised they let her out. Prison, my dude. She stabbed her ex-boyfriend like 27 times. Yeah, all in the dick. So Tawny gave you this number. Is this about the glass bottom boat? Oh, no. See, it's not an actual boat. Can you pull up Urban Dictionary for me for a second? Oh, there's a lot more, but those are kind of my favorites.
Ew.
What? You sell feet pics to creeps, and I traumatize them.
Good point, Jenny. We can't argue with that.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.
Why'd you do it, 2024? Why'd you take away Tony Todd? We were all still reeling about the death of David Bowie back in 2016, and here you go at the end of the year just... Seriously though, this does hurt. Tony Todd has and always will be my favorite horror movie actor. He's been in so many memorable roles, and even when he's been in some of the worst movies I've ever seen, he was always the bright spot. He's never failed in giving it his all regardless of the project, and he'll be dearly missed.
I'll see you soon.
Someone please put a protective barrier around Steve from Blue's Clues and Weird Al. I can't take any more heartbreak. Candyman was based off the short story The Forbidden. The movie does use everything from the book, but things were added to weave American culture into it since it's based in Chicago. Candyman isn't black in the original story, so the background of the interracial love is obviously not there either. When Tony Todd and Virginia Madsen were casted, the director, Bernard Rose, gave free rein to both actors to flesh out their characters' backstory. Tony Todd once compared Candyman to the Phantom and the Hunchback, two characters seen as monsters who used their tenderness and terror to unsuccessfully woo the female protagonist. Virginia Madsen said in an interview Candyman was the African-American Dracula. That comparison isn't really hard to see. Dracula was a poetic, tragic, and romantic character, and Candyman is very much that. The movie opens with this gorgeous score playing over an impressive aerial shot of the city of Chicago. That shot, by the way, was well before drones were a thing and was apparently really unheard of at the time. And can you believe that the composer Philip Glass did not like this movie because he thought he was writing a score for a romantic movie? I mean, it kinda is in its own way. I mean, the director even said he wanted Candyman to be this romantic, tragic character. It's here we're introduced to our main character, Helen, listening to a freshman recount an urban legend she was told regarding the title character.
Clara was babysitting for the Johnsons. Billy pulls up on his motorcycle. She always kind of had the hots for Billy because he was like a bad boy.
Oh yeah, this 28-year-old middle manager is a real badass. Yes, I know it's Ted Raimi.
Have you ever heard of Candyman? Well, his right hand is sawn off. He has a hook jammed in the bloody stump.
I don't know if this was the direction or maybe just the way this actress talks, but she sounds like she's getting turned on describing Candyman. You ever heard of Candyman? He's got a hook where his bloody stump used to be, and he stabs people with it. Claire tells Billy about the ritual to summon Candyman. You say his name 5 times in the mirror before turning off the light, to which Billy makes it to 4 before chickening out.
No one ever got past 4.
You know, in the original script, in order to summon Candyman, you had to say his name 13 times in the mirror? I am so glad that was reduced, because can you imagine that being in the final script? Half of the movie would just be people chanting Candyman in front of a mirror.
Candyman.
She turned out the lights.
Wait, the chant doesn't have to be consecutive? You can have a whole ass conversation between Candymans? His name was already technically spoken 5 times in front of the mirror, but maybe it doesn't count because she wasn't looking? Oh, wow, those are some paper-thin floors. If Candyman didn't get her, shoddy construction would've.
You guys doing a page on serial killers or something?
Something like that.
After the interviews, Helen goes to the University of Illinois, Chicago, where her husband, Trevor, a professor and Nicolas Cage stand-in, is lecturing his class about modern folklore, something Helen is not too happy about.
That's lunch.
Was that a school bell? And did he say that's lunch? Is this not a university? I really need this to be a university, especially with what we find out later.
So you want to tell me about this girl?
You don't really think.
No, of course not.
Helen, honey, anybody, regardless if they have functioning eyes or not, would have clocked that. Motherfuckers aren't even subtle about it. Helen confronts Trevor about going forward with his urban folklore lecture while she and Bernadette were interviewing freshmen about the very topic which compromises their data. And of course he's completely dismissive and she's way too forgiving of his attitude. I don't know if you've ever had to write a thesis for your final years in uni. I know plenty of people who would have stabbed Trevor in the eyes if he had compromised their research like that. A thesis is not something you can just write over a weekend. It requires weeks, months of research, tons of rewrites, and stress levels that could power a small town. That evening, while Helen is transcribing the opening interview, a cleaning lady overhears the subject matter and calls her coworker into the room to recount a story she heard about Candyman.
Ruthie called 911 and she said there's somebody coming through the walls, and they didn't believe her. She was killed with a hook.
This sounds like a crazy made-up story, but it is actually based on real events with very little details changed. I will get to it in a minute. Thanks to the cleaning ladies remembering the victim's name and where the murder took place, Helen manages to track down the details in the library and discovers something interesting about the building she lives in.
My apartment was built as a housing project. The city soon realized that there was no barrier between here and the Gold Coast.
What Helen is saying is that her building was supposed to be what Cabrini Green is. It was government housing for low-income families. However, the location was deemed too good for government housing because, you know, fuck poor families. Why should they have a nice, safe place to live, right? The developer saw dollar signs, so they tweaked the look of the apartments ever so slightly and instead sold them for an insane profit, while the poor families got Cabrini Green in a very crime-heavy area because, again, fuck the poors, apparently. Helen shows Bernadette the proof of this by pulling out her medicine cabinet to reveal that her cabinet sat back-to-back with her neighbors with nothing in between them.
Killer, or killers, they don't know which, smashed their way through the back of this cabinet.
So the story that Kitty told earlier that I said I would come back to was an actual event that happened in 1987 in Chicago. Ruthie McCoy called 911 saying people were coming through her wall. Dispatch didn't believe anything she said because it sounded crazy. In actuality, there were very narrow areas between apartments for maintenance workers, but quickly became a way for burglars to enter apartments. And even though the neighbors reported hearing gunshots, the cops wouldn't break down the door and waited another 2 days for the superintendent to drill out the lock to find, surprise, surprise, Ruthie dead of multiple gunshots.
What? Somebody in there.
Good thing that apartment was vacant, and I feel bad for anybody who has neighbors with IBS.
Candyman. Oh, you chicken!
Ignore this, I spilled water when I took a drink. Helen, Bernadette is a black woman in a 90s horror movie. She is not about to tempt fate with said title character, regardless of how silly it might sound. So it's on to the next day where Helen and Bernadette head to Cabrini Green to get photos and possibly interview some residents.
What's with the arsenal, Bernadette? We're only going 8 blocks.
Yeah, 8 blocks to an area that's been established as extremely dangerous just to drive through. Why don't you 86 that attitude, Helen?
Let's just go back and we can write a nice little boring thesis regurgitating all the usual crap about urban legend.
Reminder, Helen, your thesis can't be completed if you're dead.
Hey, come up in here.
Excuse me, y'all can come up in here.
This was shot at the actual Cabrini Green. They had to make a couple of deals with the local gangs there, and they even casted some of them as extras.
5-0, come out the back door, police!
It's okay, they think we're cops. They're not gonna follow us.
Maybe don't say that so loud and close to the guys who were just swarming you when you first showed up, Helen.
Sorry.
They find the apartment Ruthie was murdered in, taking pictures and noting the layout is the exact same as Helen's apartment, then make their way into the bathroom where Helen climbs through the other apartment finding... Okay, that is a cool visual. Possibly one of the coolest, if not the coolest in this movie. The young woman with the dog confronts them about snooping around before Helen and Bernadette explain who they are and ask if they could interview her about the murder.
What you gonna say? That we bad? We ain't all like them assholes downstairs, you know?
Anne-Marie recounts Ruthie screaming, calling the cops and having nothing done until it was far too late.
They ain't never gonna catch him. Candyman.
You know, there are times where I will watch movies and a certain actor or actress will do a phenomenal job, and interested, I will go to their IMDb to see what else they've been in, only to find that they really haven't done anything after said movie. I'm so happy this isn't the case for this actress. Vanessa Williams, no, not that Vanessa Williams, but I was also confused for a second, has worked consistently since Candyman and was also in Ice Spiders, which looks like a movie. Oh, she also reprised her role in Jordan Peele's Candyman in 2021, which is a beautiful movie, highly recommended. Please go watch it. It's so good. It's so good. That night, Helen and Bernadette are having dinner with her shitty husband and his equally shitty friend.
Well, if you're after the hook man, Helen, you really must read the paper I wrote about him 10 years ago.
Oh, the smugness of this man could suffocate the entire room. Purcell tells Helen and Bernadette Candyman's backstory, one they weirdly didn't know. I kind of feel like they would have already researched where the legend originated. Considering researching a topic that involves a legend like Candyman would kind of require that in your writings. The story goes that Candyman, real name Daniel Robitaille, was the son of a freed slave who amassed a fortune after inventing a device used to mass-produce shoes after the Civil War. Daniel was sent to all the best schools and developed a talent for painting. He became highly sought after by the rich to paint their portraits. This is where he met and fell in love with Caroline, the daughter of a wealthy white landowner. They were madly in love and met in secret for obvious reasons until Caroline became pregnant with Daniel's child. It was then that their secret romance was ousted and Caroline's father paid men to chase and murder Daniel. They sawed off his hand, then poured honey on him, allowing the bees they stole the honey from to sting him to death before burning his body and scattering the ashes across what is now Cabrini Green. Helen goes back to get pictures of that cool artwork we saw from earlier, then goes to visit Anne-Marie but is informed by a little boy named Jake that she's out.
You know, it's okay to talk to me, because I'm not a cop.
I get the feeling that's not the issue, Helen. You're still a stranger wandering in where you weren't invited with unknown intentions. He's gonna be wary of you, cop or not. Jake walks Helen outside past a huge pile of debris being used for an upcoming bonfire and to a small public toilet.
A boy got killed there.
Who was he?
Ain't sure.
The very first time I saw this movie, I was young, like kindergarten young. And this scene terrified me specifically because it was the first horror movie I had ever seen where a child was seriously injured. Except I misremembered this scene. In the story, Jake tells this young boy's genitals are cut off and tossed in the toilet. I remember it being the child's head that was cut off, so imagine my confusion when I rewatched it again as a tween. That's probably the best case scenario what you could have found in there, Helen.
I hear you looking for Candyman, bitch.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry. See, I'm actually looking for the Candyman that's the supernatural being that's about 6'2", 6'3", with the velvety voice and the tragic backstory. Not whatever this is. Helen is beaten unconscious before being rescued by Jake, and here in the police station perp line is where my favorite line delivery is.
We're here looking for Candyman, bitch.
I love this line so much. It was even my text tone for a while. There's just something so special about the line delivery.
Candyman, get me. Candyman isn't real.
A few days later, Helen surprises the shitty husband with dinner, and I'm super happy his scenes are brief because he's
The world! You haven't eaten already, have you?
No, of course not.
Oh, he ate something all right. Wink. Bernadette and Helen reunite, and Bernadette surprises Helen with the pictures from the smashed camera and one other tidbit.
There's a lot of interest since you made the local section.
We're gonna be published.
Things are looking up for our intrepid graduate students. I can't wait to see where this thesis leads.
Helen.
Oh boy. Helen tries to escape but is hypnotized by the deep, sensual voice of the fabulous Candyman.
Be my victim.
Okay. Wait, is he here because she called him in the mirror? That was like a month ago. Sure hope none of you guys did this when you were a kid, because who knows when he's gonna show up. Helen is knocked out by the real Candyman this time and comes to in a pool of blood. Not her blood. Anne-Marie's dog, Pepper, which I'm not gonna show for obvious reasons, but the dog's head is no longer where it's supposed to be.
Marie? No! Now stop!
Oh yeah, stab to the arm will calm anybody down. Helen is brought back to the police station where she's strip searched by a female officer in the most awkward scene I've watched in a while.
Ms. Lau, you're under arrest. Do you understand?
Please let me explain.
Oh, please do. I would love to hear your explanation to these cops.
Where's the baby?
I don't know.
You're sick.
Helen requests to make a phone call, opting to call her home, hoping her awful fucking husband will pick up the phone, but he doesn't because he's not home and we all know where he is. The next morning, Trevor and Helen's attorney bail her out, which I'm a little surprised she'd have bail in the first place, considering they think she took baby Anthony and is either hiding him or dumped his body somewhere.
Where were you last night?
I was here. I was fast asleep. I thought you were with Bernadette.
Was this just the norm for couples before cell phones? You just kind of hope your significant other is okay and alive and just with friends if they don't come home for 24 hours? And don't you fall for that, Helen. He's treating you like an idiot. Don't you fall for that. Trevor leaves and Helen lights up yet another cigarette. All right, hang on. I have not seen this movie in like 10 years and I can't get over how much smoking is in this movie. It's like damn near every character smokes. They might as well have a credit at the end of the movie. They're in it more than Candyman. I know the whole find something sinister in a picture you've already looked over is kind of cliche at this point, but I do not care. I love this trope. It is one of my favorites. Helen tries to escape, but it's kind of difficult to run away from a specter who can appear anywhere at any time, so she's trapped in her apartment with him.
I have the child. Your disbelief destroyed the faith of my congregation.
If your entire congregation was swayed by one person having doubts, I kind of feel like they were already on their way out, Candyman. I really don't like that Bernadette was killed off. I get it, but I don't like it. Trevor comes home to find Bernadette butchered in the living room and his wife covered in blood wielding a knife while blubbering nonsense. This is the one time I think I can sympathize with Trevor because I probably would have reacted the same way. Good God, woman, why would you want Trevor over Candyman? He'll recite poetry as you both live as unaging feared hauntings. Seems like a vast upgrade to me. Well, there is that whole killing your best friend thing. I guess that is kind of a deal breaker.
Allow me at least a kiss. Just one exquisite kiss.
Well, okay, since you asked so nicely. Well, Isn't that...
Now, for the past month...
Month?
Helen, you've been charged with first-degree murder.
Oh, so that's Candyman's angle. This whole time, he's been trying to convince Helen to die and join him, but she's been refusing him at every meeting. So Candyman is effectively destroying any ties she has to the living world and making it so her existence is so unbearable, she'd welcome death and, by extension, him. Pretty sneaky, sis. The doctor asks Helen to explain what happened in her apartment, which she remains tight-lipped about until he shows her CCTV of her first night there where she was being haunted by Candyman, only the video doesn't show him. It only shows Helen yelling at a room full of nobody.
I can prove it. I can call him.
Hey, do you remember what happened the last time you called this fella up here? And isn't this you like a minute ago?
I'm not kidding.
Cool, but if you call a monster you know is going to kill, you're kind of capable of that. You're just a murderer with extra steps. Why do you look so shocked you can't pretend that you didn't know this was gonna happen, Helen?
You're mine now.
Oh, Candyman, you sweet talker, you. Candyman frees her from the chair binds before crashing through the window, giving Helen a way to escape the office into the next room, knocking out a nurse in the process to steal her keys and uniform. Candyman is really banking on Helen being able to Metal Gear her way out of this facility.
What's the matter, sweetie pie?
What is this outfit? Dude's wife's been gone for a month and he turns into Hugh Hefner.
Trevor, you were all I had left.
I mean, not really a huge loss, Helen.
They will all abandon you.
Yeah, and whose fault is that? Helen returns to Cabrini Green, entering the same apartment she visited in the beginning, and finds a mural of Candyman's backstory where he looks kind of bored getting his hand sawed off. Candyman needs to sleep? I thought he was a ghost.
And I'm afraid.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite.
Boy, do I have a friend for you, Candyman.
We have such sights to show you.
This scene must have been terrifying to Virginia. She's allergic to bee stings, and unlike Tony Todd, she didn't get paid for any bee stings she possibly got, which must have been zero since they had paramedics waiting just off set with EpiPens in an ambulance. Hopefully this was done in one take.
It was always you, Helen.
Helen hears a baby cry that I believe only she can hear, coming from the debris pile, and enters it to look for him. As she does this, Jake is woken by the sound and looks outside, only to see the hook Helen is carrying, mistaking it for Candyman. So the residents of Cabrini Green douse the pile with gasoline with the intention of burning Candyman, just as Helen finds baby Anthony.
I knew you'd come.
Helen stabs Candyman with a stake. How very Van Helsing of you. She crawls out of the bonfire to hand the baby back to his mother before succumbing to her fatal burns as Candyman dies and his bees scatter. I don't think that's gonna stop him. Maybe, like, slow him down. He's been through this before. He just needs to regain some bees. At Helen's funeral, it seems at first only a handful of people care to attend. Real classy bringing your affair partner to your wife's funeral, Trevor. When Purcell notices a procession of Cabrini Green residents led by Marie and Jake to pay their respects for saving baby Anthony from the fate Candyman bestowed upon the boy. Once home, Trevor is reflecting about what a piece of shit he is, which, too little too late, my friend. While his new girlfriend poorly makes dinner. Whoa, incoming nips. Oh, I guess the novelty wore off and it's no longer fun when the mistress becomes the wife, huh? Maybe think about that next time you want to bang one of your students. But you better make it quick, you got like 5 minutes.
Hey, why don't you help me make the salad?
Okay, I'll be there in a minute.
I don't think that's how you make a salad, honey. Yay, happy endings. Yeah, it's definitely an unfair punishment considering from his perspective, his wife went wackadoo and went on a murder spree, but cheating is shitty, so maybe just like a disfigurement, like take an ear or an eye or something. I'm kind of surprised she didn't take out Stacy. She knew Trevor was married but fooled around with him anyway. And that's Candyman. The movie holds up really well. The story, acting, and music all culminate to create a beautifully tragic tale. Being filmed at the real Cabrini Green shows the audience a raw reality many would pretend wasn't there. While Cabrini Green no longer stands, it doesn't erase what that building came to symbolize. While Candyman isn't the first black horror movie antagonist, he is the most memorable, and this is often cited as a pioneering example of black horror because of how it tackles the history of black suffering. It does so with respect, a unique perspective, and brilliant execution. Tony Todd and Virginia Madsen gave remarkable performances. They had such amazing on-screen chemistry, I was rooting for them to be a couple over Helen and her husband. While it's deeply sad we lost Tony Todd last year, he's left us with Candyman and other wonderful characters we can revisit ourselves or introduce to newer generations. Rest in peace, Tony. You'll be mourned by the horror community for years to come.
Be careful walking on the sidewalk.
Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you later. Whoop, I got a call, I gotta take this. Hello?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Yeah.